Welcome to Vanadium. This is live from the Pathfinder. See if I can turn down the air conditioning a little bit. It's a hot summer day here in California. I'm going to continue with my reading of Break the Bastion. We are all the way to page 72, chapter 12, and this is where things are like really starting to happen. So today's chapter title is Belasi LaCrone, which is the name of the mysterious villain of the book so far. So this is this is a little longer chapter, so I may do this in one or two pieces to kind of see how it shapes up as I read. So this starts on page 72, and the chapter is called Belasi LaCrone. When Callista arrived home that night, she noticed what looked like a giant sparkler on the side of her house, spewing a cloud of white-hot twinkles from the chimney. She realized when she got closer that the sparks were coming from a welding machine. The thing was nearly as large as a wing of her house, with the crane arm reaching all the way up to the 4th floor. The construction robot blasted sparks high into the misty sky, but the process was quiet at the same time. Callista thought she could have even slept through the noise. There was a slight hiss from firing the welds, but the sound faded easily into the ocean noise. "What is that thing, and what's it doing to my house?" she asked Strix. The owl told her. "It's an automated construction machine. It appears to be performing some renovations. Perhaps your father is strengthening the house for high winds. Those sorts of dangerous high winds are predicted for the coming season." "In the middle of the night?" Callista asked. Strix answered, "Perhaps to minimize electrical costs." "Stop it," Callista told Strix. "It's obviously something weird. I've never seen or heard of a robot like that. Where did it come from?" "The Blaise-Laurent's company," said Strix. "The Apex 712 autonomous construction system, designed to build, remodel, and repair with little or no noise or disruption to the environment. You can think of it as a brutish and highly primitive cousin of ours." Callista watched as the robot finished welding some kind of metal frame into the backside of the house, near the attic. When the thing was finished firing welds, it hoisted polished metal boxes into the framing. Each was about the size of a small bedroom, and it had the same titanium sheen as the Bastion. Then the robot fitted in new sections of attic roof, making the house appear untouched. Finally, the robot's arms and lifts collapsed into its base, and the machine drove itself away. With the strange commotion, Callista didn't notice the driveway at first. It was well after 3 o'clock in the morning, but several fancy cars she didn't recognize were parked outside her house. Her first thought was that her father had realized she was missing and had called some of his colleagues for help to find her. However, when she gently opened the back door of the house, no one was waiting for her. They hadn't even realized she had left, which seemed amazing for a normally overprotective father. Callista knew most of her father's close business associates, but the voices coming from the office that night belonged to no one familiar. Then she heard her father's voice ring out from the office and all the way down the hallway. "I helped because I didn't know why. This is insanity!" he shouted. "How could he propose something like this?" Callista put her ear to the office door. She heard something in her father's voice, something like total defeat. "Listen," he said. "I'll do everything I'm told. I know how lucky we are to be part of this. I know how much I'm in your debt. Just help me understand. Just please explain to me what this map thing is. Why are we treating it like it's more important than the Constitution?" Through the door, Callista heard one of the men say, "We're going to do you a favor, Mr. Ellerly. We're not going to let what you've said leave this room. However, we warn you not to ask these questions again. You're aware of Mr. LaCrone's rules on the matter." Her father replied, "Have either of you ever even met this man, LaCrone?" "Mr. Ellerly," said the other party, "just like you. We've never seen him in person." "How could a man like that just appear out of thin air?" her father asked. "No history, no education, no information, no nothing." "Mr. Ellerly, please," responded one of the guests, sounding grave. Her father asked him, "Does he know your secret too? Is that how he's making you do all of this?" "Do you want me to tell Mr. LaCrone that you're tired of keeping your secret?" "No, please," said Callista's father. "I'm sorry for speaking out of turn. Please forgive me." The tone of his voice made Callista's stomach turn in a mixture of fear and disgust. She thought about flinging the door open because she couldn't believe what she was hearing. However, she just stayed at the door listening. She heard her father ask one of the men, "Does this have anything to do with Blaise-Laurent's interest in my daughter?" "The old man is senile," said one of the men. "He has no idea what's going on. Just indulge the man in his inventions. He's harmless, but not someone we can simply just remove from the picture." Callista heard the other man say, "He certainly isn't the same man that built the bastion, I'm afraid." She heard someone approaching the door, so she ran on her tiptoes down the hall to her room. After sitting Strix on her nightstand, she ripped off her jacket and shoes, threw them under the bed, and tucked herself under the covers. Her heart was still racing when her father came to check on her. He stood in the doorframe for what seemed like quite a while, just watching her. He eventually slid the door to a crack before he left. "What's going on here?" she asked Strix after her father had gone. "Something isn't right." "Your father," said Strix, "is in a difficult situation. He's trying to protect you, his only family." "From what?" "It's difficult for us to say." "And what the hell are those boxes?" she asked. "What happened to our attic?" "We're afraid that's difficult to say." "Why? Because you don't know the answer, or you refuse to tell me?" "We apologize, Callista, but this questioning is beyond what we're able to answer at this time." "That's even more cryptic," she said. "Once again," said Strix, "we apologize." "Fine," she said, turning away from the owl. She reached under her mattress, pulling out a bag of anxiety pills and an herb grinder. She mashed up 2 pills and rubbed the powder on her gums and mouth. "Taking it this way," she said, "speeds it up. I'm going to sleep. I've had it with you." Despite her best efforts, Callista's mind wouldn't give way to sleep that night. She eventually relented and decided to talk to Strix again. "Are you awake?" she asked the owl. "We're always awake," said Strix. Callista got out of bed, went to her window. She stared out to the pitch blackness beyond the bastion. The only breaks in the outer, empty space were the lights on top of the wall. "Why can't I sleep?" she asked the owl. "You seem to know everything." "We propose 2 reasons for your inability to fall asleep. 1 is that you're thinking about Morgan Battle. 2 is that you're thinking about the large boxes you've seen. You know there are 2 inside the house." "I guess you do know everything," she said. "Certainly more than any being that ever existed, but we don't mean to brag," said Strix. "What are those boxes?" "Callista, we believe our coming answer will only serve to frustrate you further." "Let me guess. It's difficult to say," she asked. "Not all information is at our disposal," said Strix. "I'm going to find them," she said. "Can you help me?" Strix told her that she needed to be very quiet while they made their way across the house. She walked on the balls of her feet, avoiding the creaky spots of hardwood in the hallway. She held Strix in front of her like a toddler with a teddy bear. His eyes lit the way. "We never go up here," she said to Strix when they got closer to the attic door. "It gets too hot, and the ocean noise is loud." She slid over one of the tables in the hallway, stood up on her toes, and pulled open the doorway to the ceiling. After unfolding the wooden stepladder, she climbed up, with Strix tucked under her arm. It was too dark to see anything up there, so Strix lit up his eyes and feathers. The entire attic had been turned into a system of metal railings and supportive beams. The whole room looked like a construction site. Scaffolding ran to the center of the attic, where Callista spotted the 2 boxes. Each titanium box was about as large as a bedroom. The Laurence alloy matched the bastion and Strix's box. The cubes were anchored to the frame of the house. Above them, a system of doors had been built into the roof. Each of the cubes had a sealed door on the side. When Callista touched one of them, it felt hard and cold as a piece of steel. She rapped on the side, and a hollow sound rang out. "What are these things?" she asked Strix. "Why would he hide them from me?" "I'm afraid we do not have sufficient data to speculate," Strix told her. "We suggest you look for any markings on the box, something that would identify the manufacturer." Callista brought Strix up to the door of the cube, letting his eyes light up the doorway to the thing. The only markings she could see did list the manufacturer. It read, "The Place Laurence Company." "That's indeed interesting," said Strix. "We're not aware of this particular relation of ours." "Why would my dad install them and not tell me?" she asked both herself and Strix. The owl answered, "This is unknown to us. Perhaps it's some kind of early Christmas present." It's Vanadium. Continuing my reading, I had to take a little breather there for a second. So I'm on page 76. So I'm just continuing. Down the hill, Lucas couldn't sleep either. Usually by that time of night, sleep had long wrestled him into submission. That night, however, he felt a burning energy through his entire body. Instead of the ache of gravity that usually pinned him to the mattress, he felt lighter than air, as though his body wanted to spring out of bed and run straight to the top of New Mountain. The vigorous sensation seemed so alien that it was alarming. His lungs felt clear, and he could smell the ocean on the other side of the bastion for the first time he could remember. The drowned feeling in his head, like his ears and sinuses were filled with brine, had vanished. His heart pounded, not out of strain, but out of arousal and exhilaration. "You don't look right," his mother said, suddenly standing at the doorway. "What's wrong, baby? Do you think we need to give you another dose tonight?" "No," said Lucas. "I think I've had enough. I'm just not tired." "Not tired?" she asked with a lift of her left eyebrow. Something must be wrong. Maybe this batch of roots is weak. She came back with 4 more of her homemade vitamin pills, holding them out to Lucas in her palm. He said, "I don't think I need them." "I'm your mother. You need them. Now don't make me upset." She dropped the pills in Lucas's palm, and he threw them into the back of his mouth. "That's my little man," she said, patting him on the head like a golden retriever. She handed him a glass of water and kissed him on the forehead. After she left, and the door closed behind her, Strix's feathers lit up green and orange. The owl asked Lucas, "Did you do as we instructed?" "Mm-hmm," said Lucas, spitting out the pills he had held under his tongue. "I just pretended to swallow the other ones earlier, just like you said. If I get sicker, though, it'll be your fault." "How do you feel now?" asked Strix. Lucas took a deep breath while he considered the question. Every tissue in his body felt like a rainforest in spring. He told Strix, "I think I feel great." "Stand up," said Strix. Lucas got out of bed, standing up and putting his shoulders back into a powerful posture. "Wow, it feels so good," he said. "What's happening to me?" "You're alive, Lucas," said Strix. "I don't know," he said, "how I'll ever get to sleep again." Strix said, "Perhaps we know of a method to help you sleep." Later that night, just before dawn, Lucas followed Strix's instructions, putting on a pair of sneakers and an old t-shirt before sneaking down the stairs so his mother wouldn't hear him. He had the owl in his backpack, with Strix's red eyes poking up from the top. After he had made it a half a block from his home, he asked Strix, "What do I do now?" "We run," said Strix. "Or to be more accurate, you run and we ride." "I can't run," said Lucas. "My mom said the doctors have forbidden it. They said I could die if I exert myself too much." "This isn't true, Lucas. We suspect you know this at some level," said Strix. "You won't die. You won't even be in pain. Now run, Lucas, run." Without any direction or destination, Lucas's feet just started moving. At first, he felt like his legs were rubber and every stride was a hurdle. However, his body quickly balanced itself and he reached a brisk pace. The amazing thing about it was how great it felt, almost like he was a low-flying airplane. To add to Lucas's astonishment, he found that running made him feel powerful, like an attack helicopter, fully armed and on mission. Strix told him to take the path up the woods at the base of New Mountain. "You're getting stronger," Strix told him while he ran. "Every day you'll get stronger. Every day you'll become more of the man you were meant to be. This world won't hold you back anymore, Lucas. Keep running." He charged up the hill until he reached a break in the trees. Staring down at the blanket of lights and the end of everything beyond the bastion, his heart pounded with pleasure and the feeling of unexplored power. Steam swirled and lifted off his body as the night air danced against his skin. "How do you feel, Lucas?" Strix asked him. "Different," was all he said. When Lucas arrived home early that morning, he found his mother waiting for him at the kitchen table. The lights were all off in the house, so he was surprised to find her awake. At first, she didn't even look up. She just sat with her cup of yerba mate tea. I couldn't sleep," said Lucas, "so I went for a walk. I wasn't gone that long. I didn't do anything wrong. She said, "They don't like you, you know." Still not looking at him. "What do you mean?" asked Lucas. "What do you mean, they?" "Don't play stupid with me," his mother said. "I thought we would never lie to each other." Lucas stood there with nothing to say. Eventually, all he mustered was, "I'm sorry." His mother finally looked at him. Her expression contained a fearsome disappointment, even a loss, perhaps. "I'm trying to protect you," she said, "but it looks like you don't want to be protected." "I'm sorry, Mom." "I think it's your chemicals," she said, "in your brain. You're not yourself. I think we need to change your medicine." "That's okay, Mom. I don't feel that sick. I feel a little better, as a matter of fact." "Is that the toy talking?" she asked. "I swear, I'll throw that in the fire." "Mom, I didn't—" "Still," she went on, "for Dr. Laurent to take personal interest in my son is flattering. I don't think I should blame your failure on him. He said you were special. Maybe he was wrong." She looked him squarely in the face, asking, "Was he wrong?" "No," said Lucas, "I promise, he wasn't wrong." "The world," his mother said, "won't get its hands on my son." She told Lucas to sit down while she made him one of her vitamin and herb tonics. She pulled several tins from the shelf and measured out the ingredients. A handful of black seeds that looked like tiny bananas, a spoonful of green algae-colored powder, and a pinch of purple mushroom spores formed a gray paste in her mortar and pestle. Then she tore a small purple flower from a plant on the counter and crumpled it in the mix with her fingers. She steeped it all in water and had it boiling on the stove. "Your vitamin and mineral levels are off," she said. "We'll need a good strong dose to get you back on track." "What are all these plants you give me, Mom?" "It's your medicine," she said, looking surprised that he had asked. "You always take your medicine. Don't forget what keeps you alive." Lucas sipped the familiar concoction, holding his nose the way he always did. The concoction bit the back of his tongue with bitterness. "I'll never give up on you," she said. "The doctors might give up. That's why we don't see them anymore. They failed you and turned their backs on you. We'll never do that to each other." "It's been such a long time since I've been to one, Mom. Maybe we should—" "They want you to die," his mother said, holding his face in her palms. "They don't understand what's happening, and they want it to go away. They want you to go away. Is that who you want helping you?" "I don't understand," said Lucas. "Someday you will," she said, before instructing him to swallow the grainy matter at the bottom of the cup. Then she told him, "Someday you'll understand how much I've done to protect you." "I know how much you've done for me," he said. "No, you do not," she scolded. "If you had an inkling of my sacrifice, you wouldn't have abandoned me and lied tonight, would you?" "I didn't—" "Shh," she stopped him. "I'm not going to force you to lie to me. I just hope you won't break my heart and try something like this again." She noticed the sweat on his shirt. "See how sick you made yourself," she said. Then she ordered Lucas to lift his arms so she could remove his shirt. "I don't want to, Mom, not right now." "Do you want a tumor to eat you from the inside out?" she asked. "Now please, honey." She pulled Lucas's shirt over his head. Then she brought her eyes to the skin on his back like she was reading a newspaper. She pinched at one of the fat rolls on his waist, making him wince. "Oh, stop it," she said. "I'm just looking for tumors." She found a spot on the small of Lucas's lower back that interested her. "Looky here," she said, taking a handful of ground herbs and rubbing it on the area. The contact made Lucas shout out in pain. "Mom, stop," he said. "Please, that hurts worse than normal." A faint grin turned up in the corner of his mother's mouth. "What would you do without me?" she asked. After she left, Lucas tried to sleep, but the spot on his back burned and ached. Sweat beads budded over his entire body, but at the same time, he felt attacked by a cold draft. His heart pounded and his hands started to shake. "What's wrong with me, Strix?" "Nothing is wrong with you," said Strix. "Quite the contrary." "Then why do I feel like this all the time?" Strix asked him, "Is your body your own, Lucas?" "Huh?" he asked. "What do you mean?" "Or," Strix went on, "does your body belong to someone else? The society you live in, Your mother? Is your body your own? I don't know, Lucas answered. I think so. Take a deep breath, Strix told him. Now listen to our voice very carefully. The owl used motors to raise his plastic wings. A noise, like a buzzing, started in Strix's body. Listen carefully, Lucas, said Strix. This will quiet your mind. Please focus on our voice. The hum became louder until it made Lucas feel dizzy. His head felt as though it was floating out of the room. The sound frequency was a powerful lullaby, and it hurled Lucas quickly to his dreams. Morgan's father was asleep, sprawled on the sofa when Morgan arrived home just before morning. The war was on TV, and an open bottle of anxiety pills lay on the floor. Morgan closed the door, and the clack from the latch sent Killian Battle's eyelids open. Being out this late, he mumbled. You better be coming back with some damn money. Morgan noticed the bottle of rationed anxiety pills on the floor did not have his father's name on it. The pills had been prescribed for Morgan's little brother, Brian. Those are Brian's, he said to his father. I ate all mine, Killian said, opening both eyes into a cold stare. What do you suppose I'd do? I don't know, said Morgan. Maybe just deal with it. His father sat up on the couch, shooting Morgan a grim look. Pretty mouthy this morning, he said. If I wasn't so comfortable right now, I'd knock you clean across the room. Morgan didn't say anything. He started for the stairs, but his father stopped him. Do you know what tomorrow is? Killian asked. It's Brian's birthday, said Morgan. Killian snickered, saying, I guess that's true, but I always think of it as the day I died. Morgan started to walk away, but his father went on. I died 10 years ago, Killian said. This isn't life. The day your brother came into this world, my wife's life ended, and so did mine. Now all I'll ever do with my life is feed and water you two little bastards, and clean barnacles from the stinking bastion. Your life isn't over, Morgan told him. Just a few years. When I'm 18, Brian and I are leaving. You can have this whole damn place to yourself. Don't worry about doing anything for us. Let's just see if you two make it that long, said his father. He pointed to the TV, saying, Looks like the war's heating up. There's rumors of a draft coming. I know you don't like the war, but it won't matter. They're going to send your ass to the front naval lines in old Nevada. People don't last long there. Did you know that we used to be the same country? Morgan asked. There was no East and West before the war. No one ever talks about that. Sounds horrible, said Killian. I can't imagine ever sharing a country with those Western bastards. If I wasn't too old and my life wasn't behind me, I'd enlist. I'm not some lily-livered conscientious objector or coward like you. I'd show those California shits what's up. You know you're right, said Morgan. They really could use you. You'd make a perfect torpedo. Then he started quickly up the stairs. Little turd, shouted his father. When Morgan got upstairs to his room, Brian was in the middle of a dream and didn't wake up, sweating and trembling under the sheets. His younger brother looked like he was dying of fever. His disease's neurological effects made his sleep sometimes frightening to watch, like he was fighting off demons. Morgan stood over the bed, placing a wrapped present on Brian's bedside table. It was an old book, actually an archaeological relic that he had bought in an antique shop about the Grand Canyon. Now, a long-drowned seascape. Thank you all very much. That was chapter 12. Have a great day. This is Vanadium.